Hey, good morning everybody. It's Matthew Lee with the Tao of Kung Fu, and today I'm going to introduce, for the Pressure Point College, I'm going to introduce a really special point today, and it's one that's really common, but very frequently it's thought to be in the wrong place. So this is the third eye. In Chinese, it's called the yin tong, and it is at the end of your eyebrows and halfway between that on your center line. There's a little depression in the bone of the skull, and that's where it lies, right in there. The center line has its original name in the front is Ren, but scientifically, when they started to make it, acupuncture got more globalized or whatever, they're calling it the conception vessel. So its abbreviation is CV, and the back was traditionally called Dumai, and when it started to become more globally talked about, they called it governing vessel, so it's GV. So I'll either refer to it, I refer to it as Du a lot of times for the back, and it comes up over the head and ends down here at the nose. Du or GV is the name of this meridian, but this point is one that's considered an extraordinary point. So it's not actually affiliated with this particular meridian. It doesn't have a number that associates it with the GV or with the DU. A lot of people put it up a little bit too high. There's like a ridge kind of where above your eyebrows where the orbit of the eyes goes. And so up there, they kind of do it to where there's a triangle, and they think of the third eye up in here, but actually it's a little bit lower, right in between the two eyebrows. So this point isn't on the Du meridian. It is an extra point, but it just happens to be on the same center line, so the Du meridian crosses this point, but hitting this point doesn't affect the Du meridian at all. So being an extraordinary point, a lot of times on charts, you'll see it referred to as EO for extraordinary, or a lot of charts are now breaking the body into different categories for extraordinary points. So this is often considered head and neck, so they call it HN, and then its number, its category. So this one is actually HN-3. A lot of acupuncturists will not needle it. Some will and some won't. There's a few points that are like big no-nos in the acupuncture world to needle. So quite frequently this one doesn't get needled, but it is doable. You can needle this point. It's kind of rare, but it's a fun point. The interesting thing about this point is that it's not considered one of the original death points, but it's kind of been snuck in. So the tradition is breaking away. So this is from like the original 36 death points. And so this one's kind of being added into that category because it is a dangerous point to strike. How lethal you've got to be to actually be striking death points. Because if you think about it, professional boxers, like the best punchers of all time, George Foreman, how many times do you think George Foreman hit even the same individual in this point time after time after time after time with the hardest punch he could hit with? It happened pretty frequently, and George never killed anybody. So you have to be incredibly accurate. But the thing to think about, the thing to remember with pressure points is, how often did George utilize striking this area to manipulate a person just right to hit him with another 2 or 3 shots that put them down and won him the fight? That's where this kind of knowledge really comes into great play. The interesting thing about this is it's associated with nerves, and it's associated with an organ. So the organ that it's associated with is the pituitary gland, which is one of the glands in the brain. It's a small little itty-bitty gland. And it's associated with having really insane abstract thought. So it's a very creative kind of promoting gland, and it really deals with a lot of higher concepts, whether it's on spirituality or on mathematics and stuff like that. Einstein talked a little bit about the third eye, just how he was in a trance and was kind of daydreaming when he came up with the idea of relativity. He had some really interesting things to say about that. When you do meditation focused on this area, like in the Hindu and Indian beliefs, they think this is one of the places where you gain more spiritual enlightenment, because it affects the pituitary gland so much. The nerves that it affects are a little bit below it, which are the supratrochlear and the supraorbital nerve. So those are a couple of the nerves, which basically means you're ringing somebody's bell really hard. If you hit them accurately in this point, you're going to affect their vision, and you're going to affect their balance. When this point is having difficulties, when there's a blockage in this point, the individual's going to have symptoms of dizziness, frontal headaches, maybe blurred vision, ringing in the ears possibly. Insomnia is a symptom of a blockage in this area, and a lot of things like that. Now, to strike this really accurately to cause severe symptoms, you are going to have to hit it with a really small surface area, like a knuckle. If you hit it with your whole fist and hit this whole area, you're not going to get the effect. Just like the acupuncturist uses a needle, you're going to have to use a knuckle to get great effect with this. So this is like a 1 knuckle point to hit, where some of them you can get away with hitting with 2 points, or a hammer fist, or the full fist, or a half fist, or a side hand. This point can also be struck with a side hand. So I would say side hand is probably the best for any of the head strikes, just because the likelihood of hurting your hand is very low, where the likelihood of hurting your knuckle punching into the head is almost guaranteed. So I would suggest the side hand. The cool thing about this point is, number one, if you hit here, the way the head is resting, this is beyond the midline of the skull. And so it's going to make the fulcrum of the skull tilt up that way. So even if a person is in a really good stance and they are strong back here, if you hit with a little bit, like a 30% to 45% angle up, and you connect really well with it, like with an uppercut or that side hand hitting upwards, and catch them right under that ridge and knock their head back, then they're set up for a sideward strike or a hook punch or something low to the ribs, which will really affect their system, or a takedown or something like that, an attack to the legs, which will really affect their system. And that's how combinations in the pressure point system work really well. If it's struck really accurately, you can maybe cause convulsions, really severe dizziness, confusion, you can actually cause like acute fear in people as one of the major symptoms of this point. So it's pretty unusual, but it's a really good point. Most people that are here are protecting more the ears and the jaws and the temples. They don't think about this point. You get to the center line really quickly. And so I like to use it for a quick strike in with my jabbing hand to like set up for my real devastating strikes and kicks and takedowns and things like that. In the philosophical realm of these pressure points, this one is referred to as the House of the Spirit. That's kind of its Chinese name that it's been given, the yin tong. In the meditation realm, it's also considered the upper dantian of the 3 different dantians, the lower, middle, and upper. This is the upper dantian where the spirit is housed and the spirit resides. So theoretically, the idea is when your spirit is focused and in your head, then you're very concentrated and very focused. You're in that zone and you're able to act with great reactions and stay really calm and unemotional and take things very well. So in a confrontation, that's exactly what you want. You want your spirit housed and well conditioned and ready to go, staying calm and cool and dealing with all the trauma and violence or whatever. If you're the defender who's dealing with this person, you want the exact opposite. You want that spirit to scatter, and you want fear to creep in, and you want the person hesitant and dizzy and confused. And so that's what the spot is supposed to do when you hit it. So whether it just works as a good fulcrum to knock their head back and set up the rest of the strikes, or whether it works to like strike fear into the heart of your opponent, it's a great strike with a lot of really strategic advantages to it. So think about that one and work on that accurately, trying to get in on your sparring partners, and train safe but have fun, and good luck with HN-3.